are the strongest budget decks in Yu-Gi-Oh? Big dog, I ain't even gonna lie, I be foaming at the mouth when it comes to giving you guys a tier list. Tier list. And today is the day I talk about all of the budget decks impacted with Rage of the Abyss and everything alike. And of course, big dog, if I didn't mention your deck, you already know what to do. Hit that comment section and let your boy know. I'm gonna try my best to get you on the next one. Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with y'all, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. Today, we are going to be going over a budget tier list and talking about what are the best budget decks to be able to fit your needs. But as always, we gotta have a criteria. The Rage of the Abyss format is just starting out, so we're gonna be using a little bit of the past format to judge how powerful these strategies are. And of course, for strategies that just got support or just came out, I'm going to be using the OCG meta as well as my experience from testing inside of this format. And in order to be considered a budget Yu-Gi-Oh deck, which is probably the first thing I should have said, your deck main core has to be built around $100. The last thing that I look for when it comes to these particular budget decks is that, do they get stronger when you add more in? Are they going to be a deck that has a future? Make no mistake, big dogs, there are some really powerful strategies that you can use on this tier list to great avail. But when we factor in every single one of those, I think we have a pretty accurate tier list in terms of strength, budget, and of course, playability past this format. And as usual, if I am forgetting a Yu-Gi-Oh strategy, go ahead and let me know down below in the comment section. I will try my best to either give it a tier right there or include it into the next video. A lot of these were heavily influenced because of what you guys said on the last tier list. Let's go ahead and start off with Floowandereeze. Floowandereeze actually did terrible last format. What I mean by terrible, I mean statistically this strategy is becoming a worse Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I mean, it is kind of fair. The last Floowandereeze support that we got was in 2022, and we just lost Pot of Prosperity. What I've noticed that Floowandereeze players are trying to do is using spell card soul exchange to be able to tribute your opponent's monsters yet again. Bro, can you really just give that up for me, please? Like, stop tributing my monsters. You already had a continuous spell that did it. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Borderline with no confirmed support anytime soon, as well as the deck already struggling going into a new format with even more powerful cards. I don't think Floowandereeze would be the best choice of a budget deck to pick up for future-wise, and for right now, it's an okay strategy. It can search Molchummy Flowers, but I don't know what you're gonna do with that information. You're too broke, and it won't even matter. Next is Dinomorphia. Dinomorphia did technically get secret support. It got Dominus Impulse, a card that allows you to be able to negate summons and destroy cards potentially. Trap decks are eating good right now. The only unfortunate thing is that Dominus Impulse is $50 right now. Yeah, bro, we can't even afford to pay attention. What makes you think we can afford to play Dominus Impulse? I don't think that particular price is the big problem with the deck. I think the biggest problem with the deck is that the best strategy in the game is Yubel, and that deck completely cooks this strategy. Dinomorphia is one of those strategies that seems to top in every single format, but I'm more likely to think that that's because it's a really good player behind it, so I'm gonna put it in takes a really good pilot. I would say if Yubel gets the frick out of the format, then this deck can be a lot stronger. But for right now, I think you gotta lay low and wait for the correct opportunity to be morbid all over your opponent. Sword Soul. Why I gotta do this to him again? It's been less than 30 days and I have to talk about Sword Soul and how disappointing it's been. Sword Soul has not gotten any support. Ever. We haven't even gotten a synchro monster to help Sword Soul. We lost Baron de Floor. There really hasn't been a single top. This deck is outclassed and it's definitely raging brokey status. Now hear me out, big dog, hear me out, and this is not coping. Those Sword Soul token monsters are water. That alone gives me enough cope to be able to rage with hope with this deck. We can use some of the new water support in our Sword Souls, and we can... Yeah, I'm huffing copium at this point. Sword Soul is not a bad Yu-Gi-Oh strategy to play if you are on a budget, but if you are expecting to go anywhere past locals at best, you're cooking yourself. Blackwing. God dang! I think Blackwings are crazy good in Edison format. In this format, you gotta cook your babies again. The biggest problem with Blackwing is that it got modernized a little bit too early. Back when Yu-Gi-Oh was about 2 card combos, Blackwing's got its most important cards in Samu. Now that we've moved down to 1 card combos, Blackwings feel a lot worse to play, especially saying that if your opponent interrupts you, you're gonna need 3 cards to follow up. I think once Blackwings gets that fixed, it'll be way above Raging Brokey, and to be honest with you, Blackwings will eventually get that fixed. There are almost 3 sure things we can count on in life: Konami printing a staple Yu-Gi-Oh card that we all need to get in secret rare, TheCaliEffect making tier list videos, and Blackwing support among a host of other strategies. This deck will be fixed soon and it won't be in Brokey for long. Give it like another 5 years or something. Marine Sus. Now guys, this deck did get support. Where is that support, you say? Shut up. I think strictly if your deck has been modernized, you're doing pretty good. Anytime you have 1 card combo potential or very flexible 2 card combos, your deck is a lot better. The problem with Marine Cess is that the water support, well, they kind of just borrow from you instead of you borrowing from them. I think Marine Cess is one of those decks that takes a really good pilot. I don't think that it's really stronger than decks like Dinomorphia or Fluendereese. But the more we keep getting water support, the stronger that this strategy has to get. Exo Stepsisters. Look guys, people are playing Bestials this, Bestial that, Shifter this, Shifter that, and the sisters just wash their dryer. The Stepsisters suffer from one huge problem. First of all, this is another strategy that needs 2 card combos, but fortunately enough, those cards are fluid. The next thing is that this deck is unaffected by cards like Dimensional Shifter, and players are starting to play Nibiru to Primal being less because of Yubel. Make no mistake, this deck is still not great, but it's incredibly cheap, and I'm gonna put it in takes a good pipe. The thing about Exceed heavy Yu-Gi-Oh decks is that they've been receiving the secret support to make them stronger in almost every set. We got Sky Crisis, we then got Varujas, we got Zeus. It's only going to be so long before that Exceed bubbles burst, and you're gonna see a whole bunch of black cards everywhere. Don't call the cops. They're friendly, I promise they're friendly. Now heroes are one of those decks where a player will make it look really good if you are a good player. Essentially, if you're like Blake Yu-Gi-Oh or Christmas Yu-Gi-Oh, I still got to get them boys their mats. You'll make this deck look fine. But then if you're top deck TJ, chat, guys, TJ says he only plays 1 Stratos because that's all he needs for his combo. Yeah, definitely one of those strategies that takes a good pilot. One thing I do want hero players to watch out for is, just like Blackwing, you will get support in the near future. But right now, Nibiru is being played a little bit less, but Drolan Lockbird is starting to be played a little bit more. That does not spell good for you. Also with Machomi Frolris, being able to draw every time you spell something from the extra deck, which you do a lot, you can easily get cooked by those Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So tread like Pearly. Pearly is the master of disaster. This deck, ooh. What I like about Pearly is that it can easily dodge the new hand traps in Perulia and Frolris, but also makes a really sneaky good cat that's almost invincible. This deck is another one of those XC decks that just keeps getting secret support. I think it's our first solid choice Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Now on stream, we were able to see a Pearly deck that played Herald of Orange Light and Honest. Honest being used for Pearly Happiness to be able to attack into multiple monsters, search multiple cards, and go for game. I think that's the level of innovation we'll see with Pearly, and it will be successful. Next is Tenpai Dragon. Yo, this deck did get support. The new Sangan card. Yay! Konami, seriously, stop printing bad cards. Despite Tenpai Dragon not really receiving any support, it is still one of the best budget Yu-Gi-Oh decks available. Hands down, guys, if you wanted something to pick up to play in Wind right now, this is your best shot. The deck isn't necessarily immune to Perulia and Frolris, but it makes sure it doesn't matter because it finishes the game that fast. Next is Plants. Listen, guys, I recorded this video before the Costa Rica YCS. I can almost guarantee that we will not see Plants in the top 32. But does it matter? Plants have done something significant in just about every single European YCS. And Plants have historically even done pretty well at regionals and YCSs in America. Plants are like modern day Dragon Link, guys. I think it's just solid. It seems that every so often Konami will accidentally print support for this strategy, and plants seem to thrive because of it. And I'm not trying to sow any seeds of sorrow to the enemy, but you gonna be seeing this deck for a while unless another major ban list comes around and hits plants like how dragons were hit. Now, Sprite has been a very disappointing stepchild for me, guys. I had so much hope for you. I put 10 toes into you, Sprite, and you gave me 7 up. The strategy that seems to be able to play around hand traps fairly well, doesn't care about Nibiru, and summons totally awesome, is definitely borderline. Rage of the Abyss does not help this strategy. If anything, Flawless does hurt it a little bit, and Sprite have shown themselves that they are a fairly inconsistent deck when it comes to be able to achieving W's. The good thing about this strategy, though, is that anytime level 2 monsters are coming out, it's secretly Sprite support, so you gotta respect that. Now, here you go, guys. Here we go. I haven't had this in a while. A copium take. Y'all gonna be hating on me when I say this, but I think Exodia is solid choice. Don't argue with me. Argue with your mama. I am probably the only guy that has been on Exodia right now. But hear me out, guys. Those Millennium monsters, only drawback is that they required 2,000 life points to summon. And now with Millennium Ankh being a lot more searchable, come on now. Also, the Exodia Fusion monster is an insane Yu-Gi-Oh card. I don't even know why Konami decided to print something like that, being able to negate spells and traps and also get an Obliterate or an Exod card. Those cards are good. I could be wrong, but that's one of the bold takes that I'm going to be taking post Rage of the Abyss. Let me know if there's a strategy that you have high hopes for. Next is going to be yes, more Red Eye support in the form of it doesn't know what it wants to do. You see, Red Eyes reminds me of a bad game of Tetris, and if that's too old for you, let's just say Candy Crush. You have all of the colors to do something, but they're in all different directions. Red Eyes could be an equipped deck, it could be a ritual deck, it could be a fusion deck. At this point, what exactly is it? We'll probably never know. This strategy is 100% raging broke, guys. Just don't do it. It's fun looking though. Red Dragon Archfiend. Hey yo, you tell your girl it's Red Dragon Arch your back fiend. My copium will not let me go of this deck. I think that Red Dragon Archfiend has some amazing things going for it. With the right player, you're wiping boards. You don't care about Flawless because you're going to be ending the game anyways. Then there's the new support for Red Dragon Archfiend. It's new support. Hey, Fire King's got to take that L too, because it's technically a Fire King card too. I think one of the differences between Red Dragon Archfiend and these strategies is that it's modernized. I do think that it's a step above, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in Takes a Good Pilot. It has the potential to keep getting support just like some of the other strategies. We know that most Earthbound cards are typically tied in to help Red Dragon Archfiend, and the only thing that the deck really needs is a field spell that can add a Resonator and turn into a non-tuner. It would be tier 1, and I'm not saying that because I'm Black Atlas. This is one that I don't think players would see coming, but I think Labyrinth is one of the best decks in the room. Not only is this deck incredibly cheap if you decide to go the simultaneous equation cannon route, it also can be built up with cards like Dominus Purge. If there was a best trap deck in Yu-Gi-Oh, it is 100% Labyrinth. I think it is the second, if not first, best budget deck that you can find. Gimmick Puppet. You guys remember when I told you that Gimmick Puppet was gonna be cheeks? And y'all was like, golly, it won't be cheeks. Well, this deck is more ass than a public bathroom right now. Brokies, go ahead and rage. You spent your money on a trash deck and you're getting trash results. Nah, but Gimmick Puppet will get support to make it stronger. Promise. Just hopefully not an FTK deck. I think Melodious is pretty damn good. It's in a perfect format where it can play around almost every hand trap, and it can set up some incredibly unfair boards, as well as has access to 20, 30, 40, 50 hand traps in the main deck. Okay, not that much. But one thing that you will sing about, I will say that this is a solid choice Yu-Gi-Oh deck. It's very doubtful that Melodious will get any support in the future, which is the reason why I have to put it in solid choice instead of top budget, but it's one of those decks that's pretty good as a strategy and really good as an engine. Goblin Biker. People were really hype on the Goblin Biker support, and as a budget deck, I have to say, it's dumb cheap. But I really can't put it above borderline. The biggest reason is because, well, Goblin Biker has a interesting board. Like, it does something, but I'm not sure if it does enough. As a budget Yu-Gi-Oh deck, we know that this is some of the final wave of support that the strategy is getting to. So it's really depressing to see that this Exceed-based Yu-Gi-Oh deck has not come to shine a light even with the bans and the cards that's coming out for. Vanquish Soul. You guys just hate me, do you? I think strategies that are not extra deck dependent are really good right now. And Vanquish Soul is a shifter deck that's not extra deck dependent and doesn't summon from the main deck. Boris is gonna have a hard time hitting the strategy. Vanquish Soul is a borderline Yu-Gi-Oh strategy, and I can tell you what would make it solid choice or top budget. A Vanquish Soul spell card that adds Vanquish Soul cards to the hand. That's all it needs. That's all it needs. You can give it an arena spell card to do it, because you know there's no such thing as a good fighting game without the fighting arenas. I like Soul Calibur growing up because of the ring out, and then I liked Mortal Kombat Deception. I'm showing my age, but yeah, there's it. Branded's not getting any more support, but I'm gonna have to put it above decks like Melodious and Pearly, which we are having a strong feeling won't get support simply because of how unfair this deck can get. It didn't lose the gimmick puppet lock, though I don't think players are even focusing on that. The fusion ability of this deck is just simply unmatched. It's an incredibly solid Yu-Gi-Oh deck that I think is more hopeful to get support because Albaz lore is something that everyone loves. Unless you're Sword Soul, because apparently you're not going to get support no matter what. Generators did get a new monster, and the monster is cool. QQ Inagon is a card that says if it's in your hand or graveyard, you can reveal one level 9 monster in your hand except itself and special summon both this card and the revealed monster in defense position. And then after that, it locks you to not being able to special summon except for Xyz. I think this card is so good for generators. I even think that it takes it above Raging Brokey. I'm gonna put it in takes a good pilot. The thing about TCG exclusives is that they can really take a strategy to the next level. Generators have their bosses inside of the main board and don't necessarily need the extra deck, but when they do go into the extra deck, they make some incredible plays. This could be one of those ones. Valmonica is... woo! Valmonica got a new trap card that's actually good, but the problem is trap cards normally don't make your strategy come out of nowhere. Your strategy normally has to be already good and the trap card helps cement it or take it to another level. That has not happened. Though I still do have hopes for Valmonica, it is a pendulum deck that's not really a pendulum deck. It has counters, but not really, and it can be mixed with a ton of other strategies. Sean would be very upset if I put this in anything other than takes a really good pilot, and don't worry, Sean, your Valmonica Exo Sisters are still a Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that I'll hold dear to me. Guys, whatever you do, do not play Valmonica Exo Sisters. Don't play that trash. It's the worst combination of cards I've seen. I think Ice Barrier is a lot stronger. A lot of people are not paying attention to how the Mermail Abyss Rhine monster allows you to search any level 7. That's really good, especially considering that Ice Jade Ron can get you into your Ice Mountain monster, which is the best thing about this deck. I love the fact that this can represent Mermail, as you can start off with an Ice Barrier version of the deck, incorporate the Atlanteans, then get the Mermail cards and the rest of the cards that you absolutely lead. Ice Barrier does have instant access to Totally Awesome 2 using Mirror Mage to be able to help get that with Swap Brawl. Oh, that's tough. I'm gonna make another bold take, guys, and let me know if I'm coping here, but I think Ice Barrier, solid choice. Really excited to see how this water deck comes into the format, and later on down the line, we might even say it's better than Mermail, which is gonna be crazy if we do. But those Ice Barrier monsters are strong. Next is Virtual World. I like that Virtual World can play around hand traps. Veiler, Imperm don't do anything to this strategy, but I definitely think that the strategy is outdated and it's fairly inconsistent. You guys wanted me to talk about Virtual World? I'm gonna say Raging Brokey, but at the top of Raging Brokey. And if I had to order this bottom row, yeah, that'd be it. And nothing else is really ordered. Virtual World has a really good thing going for it, being able to summon QB, Shinshin, and banish cards. But I don't think that a strategy that is 4 years old will be able to keep up consistently in today's meta. That's just simple. Rocket Dragon Link is a 4-year-old strategy that's able to keep up in today. God damn it, Callie! Now, to be fair, this strategy is a little bit more modernized. We know that Bystials are really good. I think this deck is dependent on how strong those Bystial monsters are, and in going into the format that's a little bit more diversity, I would bring it down from solid choice to borderline. On top of that, this deck is fairly expensive with the Bystials, and I'm not sure if it would be a good idea to pick up the Bystials with Bonanza set coming around. It's a very big possibility that it's in there. Allure Queens? You're coping, my brother. Sharks? Bro, okay. Sharks is probably one of the best budget decks you can get your hands on. Will it be good right now? It's a possibility. One of the biggest beasts with Shark is that we don't have 7th Tachyon out, but Investing into this strategy is a good idea because it can be really, really strong in the future. I think even right now, it's a solid Yu-Gi-Oh strategy overall that can pump out powerful monsters like Totally Awesome, but the shark cards are really cool, and we know since it's an anime deck, it's getting more support. And lastly is Bee Troopers. Now that I know that there's more insect support. All right. Damn. Okay. I think that Bee Trooper Ragnaraka was already pretty decent. Bee Trooper Ragnaraka with the new insect monsters. The new insect monster allows you to be able to negate an opponent's insect activation, and their spell card allows you to be able to turn them into insects. Oh, and the fusion monster. The fusion monster's A-okay by my book. I think with that and splitting Planarium, which gives you more insect monsters to your side of the field, this could be another bold take, but I'm gonna put it in borderline. I think that it's actually cautious to give those strategies that got TCG exclusives a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, and it's strictly because anything can happen. Konami saw the Battle Wow support in the OCG and then doubled down and gave it a little bit more insect support. I think in all honesty, it makes it into takes a really good pipe, but this support is actually pretty good and can put it in a borderline. And that's all that I have for my budget tier list, guys. So I had to include these big dog because they just got cheap. Six Samurai is a very good combo heavy deck, and after more testing, I think that Six Samurai can make some really good plays. Of course, there's the gateway loop as well as hand loops and other things that this deck can do, which is incredibly crazy. The problem is we're in modernized Yu-Gi-Oh where there are so many disruptions to stop it, and if history has told us if your deck is built on looping, it's typically either really, really good or not that great. I think Six Samurai is raging brokey. The odds of you getting more Six Samurai support in the near future are almost nil. I actually don't think that Six Samurai is a bad deck. I think that it has mad potential, like I put it in my last tier list, but if we're talking about from a budget perspective, this is a money trap. This particular Six Samurai deck is going to cost you a ton of money on cards that you can't necessarily use for other strategies, and unless you're a Six Samurai specialist, you're going to find yourself frustrated. All this for a deck that could have an opportunity to maybe compete. Yeah, not really worth it. And very fortunate, Mermail Abyss Shrine as well as Bodyguards are cheap. I mean, Bodyguards are $1 each from $20, and that's what made this deck really cheap. I think that there's going to be a lot of Mermail players that are going to mess this deck up completely. They're going to try to play a bunch of hand traps. They're not going to have enough water monsters. They're going to play too many spells and traps inside of their deck. They think that Dominus Impulse is a must play. In actuality, Mermail still plays like that deck of old. And I'm not sure if that's necessarily a bad thing, but this deck can play through hand traps. It does it incredibly well. I'm going to go ahead and put it into borderline. I think Mermails as an investment, okay. I know that I said that Icebearer Mermail could eclipse Mermail, but for right now, I think that this is the go-to budget deck. It's actually really, really good. When played correctly, this deck is dominant, and it can play through multiple boards as well as hand rip when going first. Totally Awesome is still a dangerous card. The best strategies in the game for my brokies. Of course, if you want to see more amazing content, you already know what to do. Be sure to check out these videos so I can catch you on the next one.